Two sisters, 10 years old, Catherine Lyon and 12 years old Sheila Lyon, went missing on March 25, 1975, while visiting a mall in Wheaton, Maryland. Their disappearance has plagued their community for many years and remained a mystery. Finally, after 40 years, their killer has been apprehended and justice has prevailed. Hello and welcome to Mystery Detective. Please support my channel by subscribing and hitting the bell icon for more crime cases. Catherine and Sheila were born to John and Mary Lyon in Kensington, Maryland. The two sisters also had an older brother named Jay, who went on to work as a homicide investigator. John Lyon, their father, was popular for being a radio host on WMAL radio. The family resided in a quiet, middle-class community during a time when parents were less concerned about sudden abductions and disappearances. Parents would often allow their kids to play outside. Things were easier in that era when everyone looked out for one another's kids. Both Catherine and Sheila were honor roll students at school. They kept their money in piggy banks, and like most kids, they decorated their bedrooms with posters of Kenny Loggins and John Denver. Catherine and Sheila made the decision to walk to the nearby Wheaton Plaza Mall on the first day of their Easter break from school. They had intended to visit the Easter exhibits that afternoon and eat at the Orange Bowl pizza place, which was about a half-mile from their house. They agreed to be back at their house by 4 p.m., having left home around 11 a.m. When the Lyon sisters didn't come home that evening, their parents called the police by 7 p.m. Police began a thorough search by going through every tree stand and patch of weeds. Scuba divers were sent by the police into ponds and storm sewers, as well as into each abandoned homes and buildings. The Lyons' neighbors volunteered to search in the streets and woods. The extensive search for the Lyon sisters lasted for months and attracted a lot of media attention as well as hundreds of tips. However, as tips decreased, the Lyons family began to lose hope and became desperate for answers. Witnesses informed the police that the sisters were at the mall at 1 p.m. A young boy who knew Catherine and Sheila reported to the police that he saw the two of them together outside the Orange Bowl conversing with an unidentified man who appeared to be in his 60s and was dressed in a brown suit. He described the man walking around with a tape recorder inside of a brown briefcase and children nearby speaking into the microphone. One witness residing in Manassas, Virginia, claimed to have seen the two girls bound and gagged in the back of a 1968 Ford station wagon about 2 weeks after they vanished. This lead was later classified as questionable by the police. The incident sparked a media frenzy and led to calls from extortionists, psychics, and people looking for attention. The Lyons' home received several calls in the weeks that followed. People called to demand money as ransom in exchange for the girls. The Lyons were instructed by one man to leave $10,000 in a courthouse restroom in Annapolis. Following this, the police instructed the Lyon family to pay a ransom of just $101 in the briefcase, enough to make it a federal crime, but the ransom was never collected. A week after the kidnapping, an 18-year-old boy named Lloyd Welch visited the Wheaton Plaza Outlet Mall where the Lyon sisters were last seen. Lloyd Welch went up to a security guard and revealed that he had been present when the girls disappeared from the mall. According to Lloyd, he saw a man who was speaking to the girls before their disappearance. Lloyd Welch's background wasn't well known. Welch was a carnival worker who hopped from town to town and was viewed as a drifter. The police interviewed him while carrying out a lie detector test. Lloyd, however, failed the police's administered lie detector test. But despite failing, he was quickly eliminated as a suspect and viewed as an unreliable witness because they felt he just wanted the spotlight to be on him and probably was interested in the $9,000 reward on the case. As the investigation progresses, a young girl who was a friend of the Lyon sisters provided another solid lead. The girl's identity had been kept secret to this day out of concern for retaliation. She claimed to have seen a man who must have possibly abducted Catherine and Sheila. She described the man as being white, in his late teens or early 20s, wearing ragged clothing, with acne and scars on his left cheek. According to the girl, The man was staring at her so intensely at the mall that she felt compelled to approach him and say something. The police drew a sketch of the suspect, but didn't release it to the public. All leads were exhausted, and the Lyon sisters' case went cold for a long time. In 2013, the Catherine and Sheila Lyon cold case was reopened by detectives. They combed through case files that contained interviews, witness statements, and sketches of potential suspects. At a point, they concentrated on the 18-year-old Lloyd Lee Welch, who made a statement to the police in 1975. Lloyd Welch described the abduction of the Lyon sisters in great detail during his interview, claiming to have seen it happen. As earlier stated, authorities at the time weren't particularly concerned with Lloyd Welch because they believed he had provided them with false information in order to obtain the reward money. While investigators kept going through the case files, they discovered Lloyd Welch's resemblance to one of the 1970s composite sketches of the potential kidnapper. When they dug deeper into his whereabouts, police discovered that Lloyd Welch had a lengthy criminal history. This included an arrest in 1977 in Montgomery County for breaking into a home 8 blocks from Wheaton Plaza and stealing $580 in jewelry. He had been charged with numerous offenses, including rape in 3 states, since the sisters' disappearance between 1973 and 1977. While trying to track him down, detectives learned that Lloyd Welch was in jail for abusing a child. They paid Welch a visit in jail to see if they could establish a connection between his case and that of Catherine and Sheila. Detectives were taken aback by what Lloyd Lee Welch said when they first met him at the prison where he was being held. "I know why you're here. You're here about those 2 missing kids," Lloyd Welch said. Welch was a carnival worker who hopped from town to town and was viewed as a drifter. Welch, who worked for a carnival company in 1975, visited various parts of the country and was in Maryland when Catherine and Sheila Lyon vanished. After a lengthy conversation with Lloyd Welch, the detectives identified Richard Welch, Lloyd's uncle, as a person of interest as well. They think he was a security guard in Wheaton in the 1970s. Lloyd Welch acknowledged leaving Wheaton Plaza with the Lyon sisters, but he categorically denied harming them. He claimed to have taken the girls to his uncle's property in Bedford County, Virginia, and never heard from them again. Lloyd Welch alleged that his father and uncle killed the girls after sexually abusing them, then burned their bodies. Detectives are unable to verify Lloyd Welch's claims because his father had already passed away and there was no proof to bring an accusation against his uncle. Amidst these revelations, investigators received an unexpected call that will finally bring a crack to the case. Henry Parker, a relative of Lloyd Welch, told police that in December 1975, he had visited his cousin, Lloyd Welch, at a house in Virginia and assisted him in removing 2 duffel bags. The bags, according to Parker, smelled of death and had red stains all over them. He further said that they burned the bags in the isolated mountainous region of Bedford County, Virginia. At that point, investigators had what they needed to prosecute Lloyd Welch. He was charged by the police with the kidnapping and killing of Catherine and Sheila Lyon. Welch allegedly abducted the 2 girls from the mall and took them hundreds of miles away to a remote location. He then killed the girls and set their bodies on fire. 10 women came forward to give their testimony in court about how Welch also abducted them. Police were informed by one of the women, who is now in her 50s, that Welch had approached her outside of a record shop. He pretended to be a police officer and informed her that she needed to talk to him about her brother stealing a radio. She said Lloyd Welch departed immediately after she tried making a call to her brother. While Welch was serving time for other cases, he faced his trial for the murders of Catherine and Sheila Lyon. He finally admitted being guilty to the charges after the case dragged on for 2 years. The family can finally rest easy knowing that the murderer of their daughters has been brought to justice after being tracked down for so long. Police believe the sisters were held against their will, raped, murdered, possibly dismembered and burned. However, the specifics of the case are still somewhat murky. Due to his advanced age and the fact that he is already serving a 33-year sentence in Delaware for a separate offense, Lloyd Welch was given a sentence of 48 years. He will probably live all his life in prison. When the trial was over, John Lyon thanked the judges. It had been a difficult 3 years for him, his wife, and his 2 sons. However, he expressed his gratitude for the detectives working on the case, saying that they had treated his daughters like their own for the past 3 years, and for that, he would always be grateful. The dynamics of the Lyons family were drastically altered by Catherine and Sheila's disappearance. John Lyon started assisting other families dealing with tragedy and loss as a victim's advocate in Montgomery County. The state of Maryland was shocked by Lloyd Welch's conviction. A typical afternoon for the Lyons family descended into the worst nightmare imaginable. The tireless detectives who turned over every stone to crack the case have finally brought some peace.